Hey guys, welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm going to be doing like sort of a speed build of the 57 leaf clover in REX. Now this isn't going to be like part of the REX in Unity series at all. This is kind of just something that I want to do right now. And also I'm going to be yapping a lot during this video. So if you do want to actually just watch the video without me in the background talking, make sure to, there should be an unlisted video that'll just have the music playing, or you can just mute this video as well. Anything works. But yeah, we're pretty much just gonna be going over everything about the 57 in this video. Yeah, I think that it turned out pretty well. As you can see right now, I am just modeling from a curve that I did. A lot of things that you can do in a modeling software like Blender or Maya can be done from a curve. Everything can be done from a cube, but not always do you want to just start from a cube. Sometimes you want to start with a base, and that's why I did this with the revolve tool with the curve. And as you can tell, I'm just fixing up the geometry. The geometry is not very perfect, and right now I'm beveling a lot of edges to make it be less sharp, because I am going to be rendering this in Maya Arnold, which is a better engine to render things in than say Roblox, because this isn't even going to be touching the game engine whatsoever, so I don't have to optimize it for that, as you can tell with all the bevels and everything I'm doing to this model, which makes it very unperformant for games, because that's just not my goal. I do not actually have the total poly count that this did end up to, but I can say that it's probably a lot, especially when you see the leaves in a little bit. But yeah, right now I just did the handle, and now we're going on to the pickaxe head, which also I just did from the curve. And if you see me periodically go into like my browser, that's just because that's where I had the reference image up, so I can at least have some sort of reference, because I can't really do it from my head. I could, but it would turn out pretty awful in my opinion. And as you can tell, I'm using not revolve, I'm using a loft, which will just basically interpolate between those two curves that you place geometry there. And now a lot of things, if you're using Maya in general, a lot of things, the default settings likes to go to NURBS, which is cool, but right, for our sake, we want to use polygons. They're just easier to work with in my opinion. And you can tell I'm just fixing up the geometry a bit, because when you do a loft surface, it doesn't give you two faces on the side, so I had to add those faces, and that kind of breaks geometry. It gives you n-gons, which are they're faces that have more than 4 sides, and in modeling you usually want to have quads, what are called quads, which are 4 sides instead of 5, 3, 6, 7, it goes on and on and on. You just really want to have that sweet spot of 4, just to make your life easier. And when you go into a game engine, you want to triangulate that into triangles, because game engines like triangles. It can't be simple, of course it can't. So you got to make sure to do that. Unity, like engines, some engines are smart, like Unity automatically does it for you. I'm not 100% sure if Roblox does that for you, but I know Unity does, and Unreal Engine does not. So you have to be very careful with Unreal Engine. You also have to be careful for a lot of things with Unreal Engine, because it's not very user-friendly, so to say. But yeah, I'm just fixing up this model for the pickaxe head by just adding geometry, removing geometry if it's not needed, because some of the geometry is really just not needed here. And there's, trying to extrude a little bit, get the shape just perfect. And as you can see here, I just made some n-gons that I have to fix up. Of course, it's my life with modeling, is just fixing up n-gons constantly. But it's good to practice this, and as you're gonna see, I'm not going for full on copy and paste from the Rex. There's a couple design decisions that I decided to go with while I was actually modeling this. Because they would have taken a little way too long to implement, for the sake of this speed build, and 2, because I think that I don't really jive with that design choice. And the main thing is the top piece. That's the Clover bit at the top of 57 Clover. I don't really like it, even though it's, you know, kind of integral to the part. I think just a nice gold top would feel a little bit better. And you can tell right now I'm currently just fitting the pickaxe head on the actual body itself, which comes with its issues because, you know, you never line it up perfectly. So I had to go in there and edit some sizing issues with it. And now I'm just beveling the edges to make it look less sharp. And as you can tell, it's not going very swell right now. I'm just trying to fix the geometry a bit. I'm very good at geometry, as you can tell. I'm still I'm not a beginner modeler, but I'm like an intermediate modeler. So I'm not, you know, still have a lot to learn when it comes to modeling. So take that into account of the final product. Is that I'm going to tell you right now that there's a lot of things wrong with the final model. A lot of things that I would fix, but I learned a lot while making this model, which is always really great. What you always want to do, that's kind of like what you should always strive for when you make a model, is to see what can you learn. And I did learn a lot with this. But yeah, we are actually, it looks like we're pretty much done with the head right here. There's a little bit of a pause there in the recording. Sorry about that. But yeah, now we're going on to the curves, which if you don't know, there's a curve that go around with the leaves of the 57 leaf clover. Now those are also curves, but this time on a live surface in Maya. I don't know how you do it in Blender. I've never used Blender. I only use Maya. But I do this on a live surface, and I can just kind of spiral around it and then resize the curve later to make it fit better with the geometry. And that makes a really nice curve around it, and it looks pretty cool. And then all I do after that, after I do the curves, is that I add a sweep mesh. Well, after I fix make it so it's unlive again, I just add a sweep mesh. Basically, and when you start off a sweep mesh, it's really big, so you have to size it down correctly and also change the precision of it to be very high. Never go 100 though, because if you go 100, that adds thousands upon thousands of polygons that you really don't need. So you want to opt, if you're going for 100% precision, make sure to optimize it, because Maya will optimize it for you and make sure it doesn't go into like the millions of polygons, which even if you're rendering in Maya, it's going to take a while to render. That's a lot of polygons. And it's also going to slow down everything about Maya. And now we're getting into some UVing. I kind of UV'd kind of sporadically through this. Every time I modeled something, I kind of wanted to UV it, because that's usually the best practice. Because you don't want to get to the end and have just a whole bunch of UVs that you have to UV it. But anyways, but we're right now we're just UVing, and with the whole point of UVing is trying to get the whole shape to be like kind of like you can fold it to make that object. That's kind of how you want to think about it and how you want to go about with UVs. I'm still not perfect at UVs. It's very hard to get UVs perfect. It takes a lot of time, a lot of learning, it's really hard to master UVs. And I've only have about a few months experience with Maya and UVing, so it's not going to be perfect, but I think it turned out pretty well with the UVs. There's some seams that you can see, especially in the final renders, which will come up in a few minutes, not a few minutes, about 10 minutes. But yeah, now we're modeling the leaf, and I kind of was going about this the entirely wrong way, and I just kind of was making I don't even know what to call this. This is not a leaf whatsoever, and I kind of realized halfway through modeling, so I kind of just did it off camera. I know I did some modeling off camera just because it was pretty much the same process. I just edited it a little bit. And right here I'm UVing before I paste a bunch of them, because I'm putting a bunch around the actual curves themselves, because that's kind of how they do it in the game. The way that they do it in the game is different. They have like an image, it's like a little sprite that they kind of just put it around, which saves a lot on performance. But we don't have that issue here because we're going to be rendering this in a non-real-time engine. So we can go bananas with the poly count, which the leaves are definitely the biggest factor, the biggest amount of polys in this model itself. A lot of super small, intricate objects on this, and as you can tell, it takes a while to paste these all on there. They all have to be like slightly different and along the rope. I don't know a method. There's probably definitely a method to get this to be easier to deal with, but I don't know that yet. If you know that and you want to tell me in the comments, definitely tell me. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to learn, you know, just trying to learn how to model better, because it's fun. I actually really do enjoy modeling or enjoy programming, all that stuff. Yeah, which is also why I haven't been recording many videos. I've been busy with class, and then also on top of that, I just kind of like to, I don't really play games that often anymore. I haven't played a game in like a month, really. So I spend most of my free time programming or modeling just to get better at it. And as you can tell right now, we are actually placing leaves. The second row of leaves that are in between, I'm kind of going off of not the in-game model right now. I'm going off of the model, the image that they use, the actual drawn image of the 57, like I don't want to say reference. It's not the reference image. It's kind of just the image, the 2D image of it. But yeah, and in that one, it's kind of more like it's like kind of a vine of them. And this is one of the issues early on that I started to see, is that from a distance, this didn't look really like leaves. It kind of looked like barbed wire. And you're going to see that in the final render, is that from far away, it kind of looks like barbed wire. But if you get it close, you're like, oh wait, those are leaves. And that's one of the issues I did run into. But you know, I think it was pretty good. And now we're going on to UV part 2. There's like, I think this is actually the last time I'm UVing, if I remember correctly, if I set up my notes right. And this is to set up all the leaf UVs, which there's a fun little trick you can do with UVs, is that if you putting all those UVs, if I put there's like 100 of those little leaves, if I put that all in the UV box, the 1x1 grid, that's going to take up way too much space, and I'd rather save that for more textures being applied to one of them. So all I have to do is actually just put one of them on there, and then put all the rest next to it outside of the 1x1 grid. And if you take that into Adobe Substance Painter, it's gonna know what to do with that. It's gonna go like, oh wait, there's more stuff over there. So I'm just gonna apply what I applied to the first one, apply it to the rest, the texture to the rest of them. And that's really neat. And also here, this is where I'm getting the cap on. It's gonna be just a nice little cap. I was trying to work with the Clovers, but then I ended up just going like, I just didn't really know the best way of going about that was. There's definitely a lot of ways I could have gone about it, but I thought that putting a metal cap on it, at the end of the day, I think I prefer the metal cap besides the Clovers. But then again, it is kind of a part of the 57 leaf clover. That's why it's called the 57 leaf clover. It has clovers on the top, and this one only has leaves. So you win some, you lose some, I guess. But yeah, this is just UVing. This is color writing as well next, which helps me with texturing. And now we're in the texturing part. Yeah, so I first applied a metal texture to it, which is like, there's this one metal texture painter that has everything you would ever need for metal. And I applied that, and then I applied it to the handle. And since I have a color ID, it makes applying these textures so much easier. All I have to do is just paste it on there, and it just works like that. And it's really cool. If you don't know about color IDs and you want to get into modeling and texturing, look into color IDs. They're amazing. they save you so much time. And right here I am actually just coloring the wood. I don't know what I'm doing right now. I guess I'm reapplying the gold. And here I got the handle. It's a green handle, green wooden handle right here. And then next I'm applying gold to the rest of the model that needs to be gold. I could have just had one layer and have all those be gold, but then that would lack. That'd make it harder in the future to change that. And now I'm doing the end cap. This is where I was like, do I want to try and mess with painter settings to get that Clover on the top? And I was like, and then I put that gold cap just to see how it looked, and I was like, that actually looks pretty good. And here, what I'm doing with the brush to make that little divot in the inside the thing, instead of modeling that, which will most likely lead to bad geometry, because doing something like that in Maya would take a lot more time. Then when you just put a normal brush, they're called normals, on the normal map, which kind of fakes three dimension, and you can just kind of just paint on it with the normal brush, and it just knows, and it just reflects light in a different way to make it look three-dimensional. And here I'm also applying the handle texture on a normal map as well, which fakes geometry there, so that it looks like there's an actual handle right there, that it's actual gripped and looks cool. And I tried a bunch of textures here, like a Clover text pattern or that, and I ended up on just a normal curved pattern that looked actually very similar to the game itself, so I was really happy about that. Just a lot of tweaking. Painter is a lot of tweaking just to get your pattern just right, because one setting could change everything about that layer. And what there's a big benefit to Painter. It's very similar to Photoshop because it's also an Adobe product. So that if you know Photoshop, you're going to feel right at home on Painter. There are some differences, but you know, they're not incredible. And here I was just reapplying that because I messed up the normal map before, because I put it on a brush layer, which you can't change after the fact. And I was like, I'm just going to put it on a fill layer because I can change that after the fact. So say I wanted it to be instead poking into the model and I want it to be poking out, then that's going to be like, that's going to be hard. And now I've finished the texturing part, and now it's up to the rendering, which is a lot of tweaking the settings again. A lot of this stuff is tweaking settings. I'm just kind of applying the textures using, there's a really nice plugin with Maya. It's a substance plugin. You just paste your substance files in there and it knows, and it just applies the material for you, except for your normal map, which breaks every time. And here I'm just setting up a slight scene so you can at least have some geometry. I never actually put any materials on it or anything, but that's not really what the whole point of this is. It's really about the 57. And here I'm just rendering it. And I'm not going to show the entirety of the renders because that's just, it takes a while to render. It takes upwards of like 2 to 3 minutes to render one shot. And that's with the settings down pretty low. Because this is a very uncomplex scene, very simple scene. It doesn't need that. But here I'm just tweaking the settings, and here are the final renders. So they're a little dark because they're just the JPEG from Maya, and Maya settings kind of make it so it kind of compresses a lot, and it'd be better if it was exported as an EXR, which is a multi-layer thing to give more. You can have more changes to that itself. But yeah, I think it turned out very well. And as you can tell with the final render, it looked like barbed wire. But yeah, I think it turned out very well. Obviously, there's a lot of things missing with the model. Like there's particle effects in the actual game. There's that Clover bit on top. And I gotta admit, I think that I also missed some depth to it on the model itself that I just didn't see in my reference. I don't know why I didn't see it, but I think it turned out pretty well. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I thank you guys all so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye. Bye now.